And we tried to create a short list of goals that we could look back on and say, if we achieved these goals in the next 2 years, really kind of up through the next election, March of 2028, would we feel like we've made significant progress towards these priorities of economic development, communication, transparency, and financial sustainability? So we took those goals. They were articulated on that first sheet of your packet. I just copy and pasted the summary that Greg Pyburn provided as part of that discussion. Greg is not here tonight, hopefully is obvious, but we do have our department heads here tonight. And the reason why I asked them to join us is to be able to provide some flavor and context and talk through some of the strategies that we are proposing to you in order to meet some of these goals that you've set. So we took those high-level objectives. We reviewed them as a team. We looked at the goals that you set. We've proposed some minor revisions, I think, to those, or maybe some added clarity to some of those goals. And then we've proposed a list of action items or strategies. I almost said strategies. Strategies to make progress on those goals. So, as we review these tonight, hopefully you've had a chance to review what was in your packet first. We'll go through, my intent tonight is that we'll go through each goal that you've set. We'll kind of walk through those strategies briefly, each one. And then what I'd like to ask is if there's any that you look at and go, hey, this needs clarity, or I think we should talk about whether or not this belongs in here. Let's flag those. If you don't feel that way, you feel like, hey, this is pretty good, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time talking about them unless you need some clarity. We're happy to provide that tonight as best we can.
Would you like us to provide that as you're going down?
Ideally.
Each one, or
Yep.
questions till the end?
Well, what I'm planning to do is we'll start at the beginning with the economic development high-level objective. We'll start with that first goal, which is secure new businesses to increase access for residents, create new jobs, and expand the town's tax base. And then we'll just review those 3 action items that are underneath that goal. And then we'll stop there. We'll discuss those. And if there's any clarity that's needed, if you want to defer one of those, if you want to discuss it, debate it, if you want to remove it, let's talk through those. And we'll go through each goal in that order. I think that's probably the most efficient way to do it, unless anybody feels otherwise. Does everybody know our department heads? I think everybody's been in front of you except perhaps Steve Hensley, who's our new director of recreation and culture. So Steve, wave to everybody.
Congratulations.
Steve's been with us a long time. He's been managing the rec center and a big part of our recreation department. And when Amanda Gustafson left to take a new position in another place, Steve was ready to step up, and we're excited to have him as part of the team. So if you haven't met Steve yet, hopefully you get a chance to meet him a little bit tonight. But I think you should know everybody else here, I think. So with that, I thought we'd just start right at the top. So what you have in front of you.
Can I ask a question before we jump into going over the goals? Where are these being tracked? Where's the progress being tracked? Is there a program or a project software or something that's being used?
We currently use Smartsheet. It's marginally useful, if I'm being honest, but it does give us kind of a centralized place to provide updates. We had a dashboard created for the prior strategic plan that I don't think got visited much, but was updated. And we'll plan to do the same here. And that's actually one of the action items, is discussing how we track and report on the success of this strategic plan. So that is one of the action items in your packet tonight. Excuse me. So again, you've got a color packet. This is what was included in your with your board agenda. This is just hopefully a relatively easy to follow summary of each one of these items. And then I just printed out a list that might be a little easier to track as we go. So you don't have to flip pages quite as much, but they're basically the same. There's slightly more detail in the colored packet. The black and white list is just for you to have quick and easy to kind of follow along. Hopefully that's reasonably helpful. We don't have a lot to put on the screen tonight because I don't want you guys having to turn around all night long, and I figure most of it's right in front of us. We do have at least one cool visual aid we do want to show you tonight, just because it's It's neat. We've made some progress on it, and it's one of the strategic action items that's here. So with respect to high level objective economic development, that's where most of these strategic action items landed. We did, as I said, we added or modified a little bit some of the goal statements that you had articulated in that meeting. If you feel like these don't represent the discussion we had, let's talk about that too. But if all of these are like, yep, I can get on board with that goal, and I do think if we made progress towards securing new businesses to increase access for residents, create new jobs, and expand the town's tax base, if you feel like that's an appropriate goal, it's going to help us move forward with economic development. We don't need to spend a lot of time talking about that. Some of the things that we felt like we could do in order to help make progress on that goal is to complete construction plans for the expansion of First Street. As I think most of you know, our growth management area is largely subdivided and planned all the way out to County Road 19. There's not a lot of developable land that hasn't already been planned in some fashion west of First Street. There's some pockets, there's some bits and pieces, but I think from an economic development standpoint, we see the Innovation District along First and Second Street, that master plan that was previously adopted as being kind of the next wave of both development and economic development, light industrial, commercial, retail. Obviously, I-25 is a big component of that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But First Street is a really critical corridor. So there's a couple of items in here that are related to First Street and kind of how that changes in the future to develop in accordance with the comprehensive plan that does envision development there. So we think completing construction plans for the expansion of First Street helps to set some parameters. First Street is the right of way is irregular all the way from Mountain Avenue up to 287. It's narrow, then it's wide, then it's narrow, then it's wide. There are some areas that have not been annexed. There are areas that are annexed. There are areas that are intensely developed. There are some that are not developed. But the roadway is the backbone, right? It's a primary transportation corridor. It's the old 287, and it carries a lot of traffic. And having a clear vision for that roadway in the future will help us expedite economic development, especially as new businesses come in along the Innovation District. So we know what kind of road improvements need to be done that either they can do as part of their project or that we can help support. It'll also set the stage for grant applications and other things that we might want to do in the future to expand that roadway.
Question on that.
Sure.
Real quick, just because my memory is kind of fuzzy on the plans for the Innovation District. Did we see designs that showed the roadway being redone with medians and trees? And okay, I want to make sure that I was tracking because that's what I remember for that space. Is the roads had a lot of heavy, decorative and more inviting appeal.
I think some big sidewalks.
Yeah.
Just tree canopy. It's really nice.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. Just want to be refreshed on that.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great point and a great question. The Innovation District does envision specific improvements conceptually for that corridor. So we'd be taking those and translating them to something much more buildable so that we could really set the edge of the roadway. Where is the edge of the roadway going to be along the entire corridor? Where will there be curb and gutter? Where is there room for medians and where is there not? Will all of these areas have sidewalks? Will they be wider tree lawns, narrower tree lawns? How all that fit? So really clarifying and creating that specificity for the entire stretch.
And then one comment was there's parking all along it. We talked about snow removal. So that's
Yeah.
issue.
Those are things we'll need to work through as we get through that design. That's a great point. Action item 2, complete the priority phase of the Bacon Lake interceptor and transmission main needed to serve east side growth. So that project is already underway. As you know, we've been working on it for a couple of years. It has 2 purposes. One is to relieve capacity issues along the First Street sewer main that carries a lot of wastewater from north to south. Ken can talk much more intelligently about this if we need to. But it will also create some backbone infrastructure that's needed out on that east side in the future for development. So especially on the east side of County Line Road, the comprehensive plan from 2021 shows commercial and multi-use, mixed-use development along First Street, and then transitioning into kind of suburban and then rural as it heads east to kind of feather that development out. But none of that can occur without backbone sewer infrastructure. So making sure that gets done and continues to move forward. we think is appropriate to add here, even though it's already underway. And some of these things are things that are already underway, right? We don't have to create all new ideas. We want to be clear about what are the things that really have to get done.
So if we're already doing this, is that, we have some money obviously in this year's budget
We do.
to do that. And then would we expect the same amount next year or is it going to be more?
I think we actually, yeah, we're going to be talking about a lot more. But yes, and what this plan, and thank you, Karen, for bringing this up. When we think about what this plan really is, it is going to be our budget for next year. I mean, this will set the stage for what our budget looks like. These are the priorities that will be reflected monetarily in the budget. And so if it's not on this list, there may be things that have to get done, right? Like Keith has to buy, road de-icer. That's going to be in the budget anyway. But when we think about what are the things beyond kind of routine operations that are going to get included in the budget, it's the stuff that's in this plan, right?
Is it projected to be finished then after next year? Or will this continue?
It'll start construction season next year. We're actually ready to go out to bid with the exception of one easement. Then we'll go out to bid. By the time it gets awarded and geared up, materials purchased and everything, it'll be post-winter, and it'll be a full 12-month construction period.
So maybe finished at the end of 27, but could be longer.
It likely will roll into 28. That would be rocket fast to get it wrapped up in 27.
How's progress on that last standing easement?
Attorneys, yeah. So, yeah.
Ken and his team have acquired what, 30,
Not quite. It's a
It's like
couple of
20.
dozen.
26 or something?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a long list of easements. It's been quite the ordeal. So
Yeah.
the fact that
This
we're
is
down to
the
one.
Smallest, and it's the smallest
It's the
one.
smallest one.
Yeah. You could jump across this easement.
But there are a couple of developments that have been kind of waiting in the wings, mixed use developments with, commercial along First Street and other conceptual ideas that just haven't moved past the initial concept phase and kind of early discussions with town staff about what works in the context of comp plan because of some infrastructure limitations. So I do think that, when this infrastructure starts to come online, again, it'll relieve capacity issues we already have, but it also set the stage for some of that continued development along the corridor. And that even includes properties that are on the west side of First Street as well that are tributary to that current line. So even properties between First and Second Street have some infrastructure limitations because of the capacity in that line. And then the last one would be to adopt a water and wastewater treatment capacity strategy for East Berthoud and the Turion area. So this is something that we've been doing for quite some time. We've been working on a large water deal that several of you probably recall. We've talked about previously, and some of the newer trustees may not know about that. There will be more information coming to you in the coming months about that as well. But knowing that Turion has been a large master plan community on the east side of town for many years, there's prime commercial real estate opportunities at the intersection of I-25 and County Road 44 or 56, Highway 56. The primary limitation for them right now is water and wastewater treatment capacity and water resources. So we've made major progress on the water resources. I think we're getting much closer. It's been a very long effort, very complicated effort, but I think we're getting close to that. And we have to be able to identify how we're going to treat and deliver water and treat wastewater out there, both with our existing infrastructure, with our partners, how do we do that short and long term, but we need a really explicit strategy to do that.
So the intergovernmental agreement with Weld and the others that we discussed a week ago is a part of this strategy, right?
That is. Yeah, thank you, Karen. That's a great point. That Hicks Legacy Treatment Plant study is looking at the possibility of a regional solution But even if that regional solution doesn't come to fruition, and Ken can, well, you can't kick me under the table because you're too far away. But even if that regional solution can't come to fruition, all the data and analyses that'll be done will really set the stage for us to take that and turn it into a town-specific or a town-centric treatment option.
Just to manage expectations tonight, with 38 of these strategies, is your intent that we would get through all of those tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, my hope is if there's anything on this list that looks like, hey, this is an important thing for us to do, let's not spend a whole lot of time talking about it unless you have contextual questions. If there's something that's on this list, you go, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't belong here, then let's spend time talking about that.
Thank you.
So is there anything in that first goal? And there's a long list of economic development items here. So even if you feel like, hey, there's maybe something I feel like should be here, it might be somewhere else in this list of action items. We might have plugged it in under a different goal. If you don't recall as you look through these, but is there anything here that shouldn't be?
Can I just clarify on this last one real quick, the infrastructure for the water and wastewater, specific to Turion? I just want to understand what the town responsibility is for that, the scope versus the developers. So I know what we're approving when we say we're committing to this portion.
Our expectation is that we would do the study and design work. We want to control what that looks like. Our other expectation is that they will fund it. The treatment plants will serve them. They have an existing development agreement from decades ago that talks about how that funding happens and what kind of share backs they get if they pay for it or build it. Some of that stuff was set via that development agreement, 2004, is that right, Ann?
February 24th, 2004.
February 4th, 2020, or 2004.
Yes,
Yes.
February 25th, yeah.
So that's decades old. The town entered into an agreement with that developer many years ago. But it does dictate how that will get done, and it does include them covering the cost.
I have a clarifying question for the first one.
Sure.
The timeline on the completing the construction project is showing from the end of 2026 to essentially the beginning of 2028. How long will it take actually to get the construction documents completed?
A year is not an unreasonable time frame for a design of that magnitude, but it could take longer than that. Realistically, I think there's a lot of survey work that has to be done. There's going to be some unique utility challenges and stormwater issues we're going to have to try to sort out. So it's not going to be a small design effort. It could be 12 months, it could be 18. Yeah, good question. I'd love to say it was going to be 6, but nothing ever goes that fast.
Just under 2 years.
Yeah. Definitely done before kind of this. I think it's very realistic this should be done prior to the end of March of 2028. Okay, so the next goal, target business recruitment with better market intelligence. So what we try to do in some of these goals is to combine a couple of different things, right? So we're talking about targeting business recruitment. We're also talking about better data, better market intelligence, better information for us to do that really successfully. So there's a couple of action items that kind of meet either half of that or both. The first one is complete a retail leakage and market opportunity analysis, and then turn that into a market or to a really specific list. Hey, here are the businesses. Here are the types of things that are missing from our community. A retail leakage means, and I'm going to talk a lot about economic development, so I apologize. Brian couldn't be here tonight. He's our one department head that could not be here tonight, but he's our business development director, and so I'm going to cover a lot of that tonight, but he and I will be working very closely on these. Complete the retail leakage and market opportunity analysis. A retail leakage study looks at the dollars that are being spent by people who live in Berthoud, and the dollars that are being spent outside of Berthoud. That's retail leakage. So if you live here but you're buying your stuff in Loveland and Longmont, we're not getting the benefit of those sales as a community. Your tax dollars are supporting Longmont's parks and Loveland's public safety, right? So we want to recapture that leakage as best we can. And it also is the best way for us to prospect new retail development is to be able to say, hey, look, there's already $16 million in sales for shoes for people in Berthoud, and only $2 million of that's being captured here. So there's $14 million of unrealized demand here locally. Maybe that supports a store as an example. It's probably not a great example, but hopefully that makes sense.
How is that analysis? Like, what kind of data is being collected to know that I don't, I buy my stuff at Walmart instead of Hayes?
Every time you swipe your credit card, that information is sold.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
so you
so
guys are gonna be tapping into that.
yeah, we'll be tapping into data that other people own, that they've purchased, but that they can then distill down into useful tools for us. And it's not just broad categories. It's not saying, so a really successful retail leakage analysis would say, hey, you've got $18 million in unrealized retail leakage for quick serve restaurants, for instance. And then they'll also go and say, okay, here are the types of quick serve restaurants and the specific chains or brands, both regionally and nationally, that might be a great target for you. And then we can even take that and translate that down to site specific. So once we have that information, they might say, okay, well, Chipotle is a great fast casual restaurant that might fit the retail leakage that you have. And here's the kind of criteria that they're going to be looking for in a site. And then we can target that to a specific site and say, okay, well, the traffic, the population within a certain area, the median household income, all the things that they're looking for when they pick a site, all of that, we can then have a very focused, very targeted marketing strategy. We have some of this information broadly, but it will take a little bit of money and consultant work to help gather a bunch of data that we don't have access to really make that a robust.
I was gonna say, I remember we did some kind of analysis, that might have been the total leakage. Jeff was on the board, but I guess we haven't defined what that particular market sector is or something. Huh?
Yeah, and we do have some broad market sector categories that we can pull out of a software program we already have. But taking that and drilling it down to the retailer specific level and then creating that list of targeted potential opportunities that then we can all say, hey, these are the businesses we're going to go after. It just gives us a little better specific strategy to go hunt them down.
Just for this meeting, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Semantically, hierarchy of planning terminology varies and sometimes they're interchangeable depending on who's running a particular group. Would you say this evening we're trying to stay at the goal level as opposed to get into the tactics, or kind of what was your vision of this?
Thank you. If there is something, if the goal doesn't represent what you think you guys articulated during your study session or your original work session back in June, I do want to hear that.
Okay.
But I am asking for feedback specifically about these strategies and not we don't have to dive into the weeds and figure out every detail of these tonight. What we're suggesting is these are the things that staff believes based on our previous conversations with you, our conversations with the community, and our own expertise and experience. These are the things we think we can do to help make
That's what
progress.
exactly I was asking, but would you say that, I'm looking at some of these and there obviously are different levels we could go down to discussing tactics,
Mhm.
the brass tacks of what are the tactics, and would you see at some point us coming back once the board has said, yeah, these are the things, or can you add this, or can you take this off, that there would be another communication on getting into the weeds on the tactics in some of these, or how would you feel that would be communicated out to the board?
Almost all of these will require some board approval, even after we've included money in the budget and other things. So, for instance, with a retail leakage analysis, we're going to hire a consulting firm to do that. We'll solicit proposals. We'll have a very specific scope for exactly how we'll do that and what the deliverables will be. And you guys will have to approve that agreement. And so there'll be an opportunity to go through all that
Okay, perfect.
at a much more tactical level than we need to do tonight. Yeah, good question.
Can I make us a request to modify the success measure for this one,
Sure.
just by adding analysis completed and it's been presented to the board?
And I'm assuming you'll apply for some of the grant for some of that consulting fee.
This is probably not something that's very grant worthy, at least with a lot of grant sources that we have access to. Economic development grants are very competitive and the pot is usually very small. And this is a small enough dollar amount likely that we think it's probably 25,000 or less. I mean, we put it in that 25 to 50 category just because I haven't done one of these in 10 years, so I'm sure the price is more, but like when we did one, it was like $12,000 in my previous jurisdiction, but that was, 12 years ago, so. And we haven't, not all of these are based on quotes. Some of these estimated costs are based on like our specific recent experience with similar projects or actual quotes, but some of these, like this one, is a rough estimate. So, but again, for a project like this that might be $25,000 or less, I wouldn't chase grant money because of the strings that are attached and the time it takes to get it. Sometimes you have to spend 25,000 to get 25,000. So this might be one of those cases. So
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll add it just and present the board. Yeah. Okay, that's great.
I do have a quick comment on that too, and I don't want to get into the weeds, but just small town girl for a moment. When I looked at this, it does make me concerned that we're trying to compete with our neighbors and be Loveland, Fort Collins, Longmont, and bring in comparative retail. And so I appreciate the study. I think it still needs to be done, the data collection, but I do think Berthoud pursuing niche or small town or unique industries or services that make Berthoud side apart from our neighbors instead of trying to compete with them is, I think, the preference of probably many in town. So I just want to throw that out there. And there's a local community that is advertising that they want to be so big that they have underwear like all the towns around them. Because there's no underwear retail. Like, this is a marketing gimmick for one of our local small towns, and I don't want to be like that necessarily. So I'm just saying, I think Berthoud being the quaint niche retail would be more small town. That's just.
So question on that, it's a big deal, it's a really big deal. Do you, what do you envision for I-25, and would you hold to that strategy once we get into that area?
I-25 is completely different
Okay,
to me because
okay.
it doesn't really impact town proper other than financially.
Yep. So we
So
probably should at least
cash
clarify that.
register, I
Yes.
think if there's, in fact, I think Turion semi frustrates me because it's predominantly residential, when if it were more commercial, we'd see more sales tax generation, less emergency calls, that kind of thing. So I think I would put that in a different category entirely, but 287 and 56, I think that, not being a Walmart there is pretty priority for our citizens. So I think it's important that we're not trying to compete with our neighbors, but we are getting that data to say, here's where we can maybe meet a need in our unique way. Is that fair?
No, I agree with you. I think there are people in the community that would feel the same way. I think there's definitely got to define what area.
Yeah.
I think this analysis just shows, no matter where it is, why they're leaving town. So then if we want to place a target, where to replace it would be, I guess.
It's almost like we have a legacy commercial
Yeah.
and then a future, which is maybe not part of our legacy. I don't know if that
That's a great
makes
way to
sense
put
or
it.
if that hits 20, but.
Well, and I think one of the things that, from our perspective, when we talk about why do we do economic development, most of the time it's jobs and tax revenue. National retailers are the highest tax producers typically. So, we think about is that the driving force behind economic development? The national and regional retail chains are probably going to be the ones that are going to be the most. Small retail outfits that have one location are very challenging to get to open a second. Because, as we all know small business owners, a lot of them are just struggling to make it where they're at.
Yep.
And so the thought of opening another location, especially in new development areas where the cost of construction is exceedingly high, that's a very challenging thing. So while I 100% agree with you, I think we want to keep as much small, niche, local retail that we can. I would make the case that we also want to focus a lot of that in downtown. That's what makes it unique and different. And if everywhere is downtown, then downtown's not that unique and different, right? So if the intersection of 287 and Mountain Avenue looked like downtown, I actually think it would detract from our current downtown. And so I think there are reasons to look at those areas differently. 287 and Mountain Avenue is the intersection of two major traffic routes, and it doesn't have a lot of charm, but it is prime for national and regional retail development, both because it's expensive and a small local business is going to be able to afford a $2 million store, and because of the traffic and other things that are there. So I think it's an important this is part of that verbal wrestling Greg talked about. Like, we really got to think through this and, where does that priority lie?
I think it is good conversation to
Yeah.
have, because I think what you're saying is that there are challenges to having those types of businesses in Berthoud. I think that's a conversation I want to have, is how do we overcome those challenges?
And I think that's a great conversation for another one of these items.
Yeah, what do we
Study-
do
study
to,
session.
what do we do to make it feasible so that those can be possible for Berthoud?
So I think we can talk about that in about 3 or 4 action items. Would probably be a good time for that discussion. So I've got a note to add and present to board to the retail leakage success measures. Utilizing the hotel feasibility study to run a focused hotel recruitment campaign. Last year, we used some of our economic development consultant budget to hire a firm called HVS, Hotel Valuation Services. They did a hotel feasibility analysis for us, looked at a variety of locations in town so that we could better understand what are the things that are keeping a hotel from being interested in Berthoud. Both on the kind of the smaller niche hotel, boutique hotel front, but also on the kind of the more, the Fairfield Inn and Suites or the Hyatt House or whatever, right? And so we need to take that and turn that into a focused campaign for hotel development, if that's something the board wants to continue to see. We've talked a lot about hotel development. We don't have any lodging in town outside of what we have in short-term rentals, 12 or 13.
We have 12.
12. So we're very limited on lodging options, and that limits us on our ability to draw visitors and visitor tax dollars. So we think, let's take that feasibility study, present it to you, talk to you about where our focus lies. And can we attract a hotel in downtown, like a boutique hotel, or can we attract a kind of more traveler-oriented hotel out by 287 or I-25?
Got a couple questions.
Mhm.
I don't have questions on all of these, I promise, just a handful. Has the feasibility study, is that something that can be uploaded to our resource? The
Yes.
Trustee resource
Yeah.
site? And then I'm gonna ask the potentially maybe not a fun question, that comes with talking about hotels. Should we at some point discuss a lodging tax? So that,
I think we should, and I don't think that's a bad conversation. I think even the community generally supports lodging taxes because they don't pay them.
We should have
We
something
have
already.
one.
We approved
We
something.
do. We have a 3% lodging tax. You
We've got
can
like
you can
26.
increase that,
okay,
but I do think that's a valuable conversation to have.
most places are 7 or 8, right? Most cities, towns. and-
Colorado's kind of unique. I mean, you go to Disneyland, you're paying 14, 17% tax, but in a lot of places in Colorado, it's 3. 3 is pretty standard.
Okay. Future discussion on tax fees.
The second would be adopt a fast track commercial development process, similar to what we did for housing projects. That was the fast track housing development process was a state driven effort, but this could be one we chose to do. We could identify priority locations or business types. So if there are, small local operators, we have to be careful about how we define those business types. So we're probably looking at specific areas instead of business types. So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Like, we can't pick winners and losers if it's a local tire shop versus national tire chain. As much as we'd all love to, that starts getting to weird territory. But if we say, hey, look, we really care about downtown and within this 4-block radius, if you submit an application, we're going to guarantee you a 3-week turnaround time in this, this, and this, so that you can be done and approved with minimal review, within a very narrow window of time. A lot of time, especially for small businesses, time is very much money. The bigger businesses can eat a little bit of that time. They don't like it either, but they can. Small businesses, the difference between 60 and 120 days is major for them. So those might be things we want to do, and we would propose some solutions. We'd have the opportunity to talk to you guys about, are these the right locations? Are these the right business types that we want to incentivize with a fast track development process? The same is true with the next one. Action item ED07, the update to the town incentive policy. We have a current incentive policy that was approved several years ago. It does give us some, what I call clear direction about where the priorities are, what kinds of incentives are available to us. What we're suggesting here is that we could define that even more to almost make that incentive a guarantee. Because what we found is a lot, we'll talk to a business or a commercial developer and they'll say, well, these are the kinds of incentives I would like in order to make my project pencil. And they'll share their financials with us. They'll explain why that helps them, make that deal work. And then we say, okay, that's great. That fits with our incentive policy. We've got to put together that package. It has to go to the town board. And they're like, well, wait, so do you have these incentives, or are they like, if the town board likes us? And that causes them some consternation. And so the question is, can we set criteria that we all feel good about, where it's like, if you meet these criteria, you're going to bring a certain number of jobs, you're going to bring a certain amount of sales tax, you're a priority business type, that we can guarantee you X amount of incentives, probably a percentage. These are the fees that get waived. These are the, infrastructure that we'll share and that kind of stuff. Can we set that criteria so we can tell them right from the get-go, you meet these criteria, you're already pre-approved, right? We think that would be good. That would be tricky. I don't know that there's a lot of good examples of that out there, but we've talked about it. I think we can come up with something to propose to you.
I do think it's important to hold us accountable, that if we set those standards and it's coming before us, that you say, this meets all those criteria you set, you pick these types of businesses, and we already agreed to an incentive based on your go ahead, just holding us accountable too, so we can't, shoot down something that we gave you authority to
That's fair.
act on.
And then the last one in this target business improvement, this one could have gone a lot of different places. It just got plugged in under this goal. It actually might be better as I'm thinking about it under strengthening current business and business environment. But completing the transfer of Highway 56 and Mountain Avenue from CDOT to town jurisdiction. That's something we've been talking about for a long time.
As far as,
The entire route.
over I-25?
They won't give us part of it. It's either all or nothing, or at least that's what they've implied to us before, and that makes sense. It's already, I think, the shortest state highway, and 100% of it is in our jurisdiction. So the beginning and end of Highway 56 is in the town of Berthoud. So
What was the reason why it stopped or didn't move forward past December 24th?
the person at CDOT who's in charge of that devolution process is also the primary project manager for the I-25 project. And she doesn't have any interest in talking about this. It also, the process is we notify them we want to do it. We prepare a long-term maintenance estimate that we expect them to pay us in order to take the road. They prepare their own estimate. Our estimate was about 20 times their estimate. So that stalled talks, but just, staffing demands at CDOT made this not a high priority for them. I do think we have the ability to move this ahead. Our region director is pretty interested in getting rid of it. And so if she makes it a priority and we make it a priority, I think we could probably do it. The reason why it matters is access to business. Vehicular access is one of the biggest killers of business success. It just is. We all love pedestrian and bicycle access, but most people drive. And if you're hard to get to in a car, it does negatively impact the business. And so CDOT controls access from the highway. They control parking, roadway alignment, they control a whole host of things that have in the past created problems for commercial development. So if we're in control, we still might want to limit some of that access. Obviously, we're not going to provide a driveway along every business frontage on Mountain Avenue, but at least we could make more reasonable decisions. CDOT is hyper risk averse, and they are ultra strict in their criteria. So.
I have to say, I jumped for joy when I saw it in the packet. It was like, you've been talking about this, it's finally happening.
I know, you've asked me about it a few times.
I beat you over the head with it a few times. But I have this vision too, I just want to share with you guys the economic impact of having control where you can shut down for parades without going through CDOT. Where you could hang streetlights, where you could put up bicycle, parking areas without going through CDOT. Just the ability to adjust and affect the downtown according to how we want, shut it down and have a giant farm table go the length of the mountain for a big, farm to dinner table kind of event. So that's where I see this is a big impact for something that CDOT will pay us to take it from them. So I feel like the impact financially will be less and it will be positive. So
Does that mean that we'll also be in control over fixing the lights on Main Street?
If we take over the road,
Yes.
we will also be taking over the traffic lights. So that's something we have to be mindful of.
Yeah, so we're just gonna come, all these are gonna come back.
All of this is
Yeah.
gonna come back to you. So
I think
just
there's
because,
a cost to this, but I don't wanna bring that.
That's right. And we might get far enough into this and we bring it to you and you go, hey, I'm glad we went down this road. This was an important discussion. We're not doing it. That's fair, right? Just because we put on this list doesn't mean it has to happen, but it means we're going to spend the time and energy and money to start that process. And we'll bring it to you. You guys will be the ultimate decision makers on really every single one of these items.
It's good looking.
Just on that item, wanted to bring up the Ninth Mountain improvements and the money that CDOT is sending us. So I don't know if we want to pull
I'd love
the
to let
trigger
them-
before that.
Finish that first.
Yeah, that's kind of my thinking. on it.
Yeah.
Great point, Trustee Murphy. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to make a note here so we don't forget about that.
One, how long have you been working on that? And it shows that we
Year and a
probably
half
done it
now.
faster.
But
Great job.
they're gonna probably have it done in theory by next summer sometime.
That'd be a great time to start this conversation with
Yeah.
them.
Right after the.
Yeah.
There are some other commercial development areas that are impacted by Mount Avenue, and they've already largely worked through those issues with CDOT, but they have not been smooth. And they did not get the things they wanted. And we would likely change some of those arrangements very reasonably. If we were in control, we might do that after, if we're able to make this happen. And I think it would actually improve some of that commercial development potential there.
Okay, great.
So, anything on this list that doesn't belong?
1 and 2, right?
Yes, that's the first two goals.
Yep.
And at the end of this, we can also have a brief discussion, hopefully. If it needs to be long, that's okay too, but about what are things that are not on any of these lists. That's fine too, we can talk about that. But I figure we'll wait till the end. After you've seen everything, you might not think there's anything missing, but if you do, we can talk about that too. Excuse me. Strengthen current business and business environment. We obviously have a lot of local businesses here already. Some doing well, some, just getting by. And how do we really improve our existing businesses' ability to succeed? So first, launch a formal business retention and expansion program. That's really just a formal way of saying, like, we're going to have scheduled regular communication with businesses, one-on-one in focus groups. We're going to gather the feedback from them. We're going to create a list of specific issues that we can track, that you can track. And it'll help us identify, are we, sometimes we hear like, oh, the cost of doing business in Berthoud is really high. Well, let's talk about what does that really mean? And does the town have any impact on that? If your property taxes are high, that's not something we have a big impact on. If the cost to get a permit is excessive for something that you're doing that we control, maybe that's something we need to talk about, right? But at least we can have a more formal business retention and expansion program where we're gathering that information and we're hopefully eliminating obstacles to business success.
That's both new and existing, is that accurate?
Anything that's existing now. This is really targeted for existing businesses.
It is, okay, I wasn't sure if that's not a new business comment, but okay.
Is there any way on our key partners that we could also add the Berthoud Main Street?
We could. I only included town departments in that key partners list, but Berthoud Main Street would absolutely be a part of that. And that's not entirely true. There might have been a few that snuck in there. But we tried to keep it to, like, who are the internal teams that are going to be working and supporting this goal? knowing that there's a long list of stakeholders, Chamber of Commerce, Main Street, Small Business Development Center, the County Workforce Development Center. I mean, there's a bunch of economic development partners that we work with that we want to participate. That's a great point.
As part of this, could we also request just kind of a survey of other towns of similar size and how, find the ones that are doing really well with small business vitality and just kind of get some maybe tricks of the trade on what they're doing that make them different for their small business success. I just would like to know how the smaller towns are having those vibrant small businesses thrive in their towns, what they're doing differently.
Yeah.
The town of Wellington is going through the same growing pains that we are right now with businesses, small businesses, so we might be a great ally to ask
Yeah,
questions.
even Windsor, who's bigger than us, and who has some very successful downtown businesses, still goes through a lot of turnover. And so, but understanding, I mean, Brian communicates a lot with his economic development partners in the region, other communities, but I think it's a good point, and that's definitely something we can incorporate. What are the things that they're doing that they feel are successful? And let's make sure we add those to the list too. Good idea. Design and install branded wayfinding system directing visitors to downtown and other key destinations. I think that's pretty clear, but it's something we've talked about, something I think we need to prioritize, and it is going to cost some money, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But you'll get to see those designs, you'll get to see the locations, you'll get to approve the budgets, but we need better wayfinding signage in town.
Yeah, some little historic preservation type notes on this.
And this be, are we looking at just vehicles or this also be trails?
I was thinking wayfinding signage at key entry points for vehicles, wayfinding signs in downtown for pedestrians and bicycles. But yes, trails are a good suggestion. So I think that's a reasonable point, especially along our regional trails.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a great suggestion. Let's add that note. And I've got a note about historic preservation as well. Implement the public art master plan. We did add a specific note about in an initial art corridor linking downtown, Fickle Park, and Town Park. That is the recommendation in the art master plan, which I don't think you've seen or approved yet. But so that's a little window. But prioritizing our first few art projects, one in downtown, one in Fickle Park, and one in Town Park that are all kind of that connect. They're different. They're unique. I think the ideas are cool in the plan. Hopefully you guys will agree. But that doesn't necessarily have to be stuck in that box. But that is what the plan is going to recommend.
If there are additional art project ideas beyond that scope, how could those get presented or be part of the conversation?
So there's going to be a long list of cool ideas in that plan. When it gets presented, if there's some others that should be included, we can talk about those then. But we also, as you might recall, in the updated committee and commissions resolution, we were hoping to have an art committee that'll help make recommendations, but also review our proposals and submittals and make recommendations to you about which ones to fund. So I think there will be an avenue to do that. All right, complete the Third Street improvements. So we put that project on hold when we started focusing on the Sunoco building project for two reasons. One, we were still going back and forth with the railroad about some utility issues. A lot of that project takes place on railroad right-of-way. But the other was that several of the businesses on Third Street didn't want us to do the project. And so, we're kind of letting that lie while we focused on the Sunoco building. And some of the money that we had targeted, the ARPA funds, we made a decision at the time to take those ARPA funds and put them towards the purchase of the Sunoco building. But this Third Street improvements project was originally identified, at least conceptually, in the Mountain Avenue plan. So, 7 years ago now, plus or minus. And it's taken us a couple of years to get through design. I think we've largely worked out the issues with stormwater and the railroad coordination issues. I think we're pretty close to getting this thing going and under construction. We probably do not want to do it in 2027 because I think we're going to have a lot of time coordination with the businesses. We're gonna want to have some really specific strategies, both how to keep those businesses open, but how to support them during construction because it's gonna suck. But we've spent the time and energy to get this far. I think we should make it a priority to construct these improvements.
Are you suggesting the ARPA funds get reallocated?
They've already been spent. So
Oh, right, okay. Thank you.
yeah, so this would be a general fund supported project. General fund and potentially 1998 1% fund for street improvements.
Would that run all the way to Bunyan?
It goes from Mountain Avenue up to what is the one just north of? What was that?
Just mass?
Just past Massachusetts. It's the next one up. Is that Turner? Yeah. Part of the intent was that was that 3rd Street north of Mountain Avenue would be one way northbound. That when you come down 3rd Street southbound, when you hit Turner, you'll have to turn and go to 4th Street to go to Mountain Avenue. But making 3rd Street northbound gives us a lot of flexibility there for a variety of different things. But yeah, that was one of the things that was planned as part of that design. So it's 3rd Street up to Massachusetts, down Massachusetts to 4th Street, and then just a little stretch north of Massachusetts, improving the pedestrian access primarily and parking on that little narrow sliver of road between Old Town Hall and the grain elevator.
And the one-way starts
At Mountain. The majority of that traffic goes northbound anyway, and it's only a 1-block detour for southbound traffic, so it's not a significant impediment, we don't think. It'll take some getting used to, like all change does, but I think it'll be good for a lot of reasons. So, but those plans are effectively done. They're just about ready to build. So we can move that project forward pretty quick. Leveraging our new American Bloom partnership to establish and implement a downtown beautification plan. So we're already kind of working down that road anyway, but working with American Bloom, working with some of our, other partners, Main Street, Bertha Local, others, to do additional plantings in downtown primarily. But so when we're talking about downtown beautification, it's not like stamped concrete and streetlights. It's, planters and, how can we creatively make downtown more of a garden spot? Refresh the facade and sign grant programs, target them to priority redevelopment districts. So right now our sign and facade grant programs are a little bit broad. We think we ought to narrow them very specifically to just a couple of key locations. And probably also talk about increasing some of the facade support that we provide, if we want to do that. But facade grants and sign grant, we also need to change our sign grant. The language is too broad. The intent of the sign grant was that we'd get really high quality signage. And while it is better, it's not, I don't think what we envisioned. So I think we should refresh that a little bit. So a little higher sign standards in order to get a grant, more targeted areas specifically for facade improvements, and then maybe a potential to increase the facade support amount in the right categories.
With the American Bloom and the refresh facade, we still have some eyesore businesses in that area. Are they just protected with our architecture? There's nothing we can really do about improving some of that?
Not retroactively. If they would propose new development and go through our land use process, then yes, we can require some more compliance. So still having a level overview is important in order to encourage reinvestment that way.
Again, I don't want to get into the tactics, maybe we can bring this up, but I just wonder if they're, making this up and just say you've got all this beautiful stuff around and you have this eyesore just sitting in the middle. Could we offer some incentives to redo the front of it, or would that be in the scope of something we could talk about at some point?
Our current facade grant program is not proactive.
Okay.
We don't offer it, but unless they're already in the midst of a project,
Sure.
right? So we're saying, hey, we really want you to improve this facade, and we want you to step it up as you go through your redevelopment process. And if you do, we can help fund some of that through
The
this.
architecture
That's
plan or
right.
something like that?
Yep.
Okay.
But we could take a more targeted approach and go and proactively reach out to specific
Right.
properties and say, hey, we'd really like to help you improve your facade. Is that something you'd be interested in? We don't do that currently, so that is something we could include in that refresh
Maybe
plan.
the board can talk about that at some point.
I love that.
That's hugely, that's a really good idea.
And who's gonna say no to improving their business
I
or?
hope they don't say no.
Exactly, right?
The challenge that we often find is that the business owner and the property owner aren't always the same.
Right.
And while the business owner wants a refreshed facade, the property owner is not willing to spend the money to do it. And so that is the primary problem we run into. So that's just something we can be mindful of as we refresh this program. But that's we'll add a note about making that program a little more proactive in the way that we target those incentives.
There's definitely some target areas we should focus on downtown. And
Right in the, yes.
there's a few I could name, but I also think partnership with Main Street on that to identify, and maybe those grants can be, maybe we can double the grant or something if it's a targeted.
Mm.
I don't know how that would work, but I'm sure they have the same concerns if they're active business owners downtown. That's a great thing. I can agree with that.
Trustee Murphy?
Yeah, for this one, I was wondering, we're focused on facade, but I wonder if it would make more sense to just label it as a building improvement grant that we're talking about. We've discussed backflows. I know some business owners have talked about generators for when power goes down, that kind of stuff. I know we want to maintain a very narrow scope, but I think we could go beyond just aesthetics on a facade.
Yeah, actually,
At
that's
least consider that.
thank you. I think that's actually a great point, and it is something we talked about internally a few times in the context of our incentive policy, though not in our. I guess in a lot of ways, the facade and sign grant are actually part of our incentive policy. So they are separate documents, but they were all adopted at the same time. So we kind of see them as the same. But I agree completely, and especially for what I would call priority businesses, one of which is restaurants. We get, you all hear it, we hear it. We need more restaurants here locally, and we want to see more restaurant development. One of the things that is especially for local restaurants, we might have one or two locations that might want to expand. The cost of a commercial kitchen is substantial. And so having targeted incentives for commercial kitchen construction, where maybe it's not even where we're paying for it, but we're reimbursing them sales tax that they generate in the future, or we're paying for a small portion up front that gets forgiven as we collect sales taxes or something. I think there's some creative strategies for that. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, we'll make sure that's included. Great point. And then complete an economic resiliency plan using direct business outreach. We actually started this process and then kind of put it on hold as we started this strategic plan effort. So I think that's something we want to pick up. And really the idea is, meeting with our businesses, understanding what are the potential issues that we might run into as a community, that they might run into. Can we be prepared to support them in the event of emergencies or disasters, but also how do we diversify our business environment so that we're not, if we have a major economic downturn, most of our businesses are general retail or restaurants that are probably going to suffer. And so how do we handle some of that in an economic downturn, but how do we diversify that business base so that as a town, we're also insulated a little bit from swings in the economy and those kinds of issues. Anything on that list that shouldn't belong? Anything that we want to talk about more? Any more clarity on those items?
Clarity on this last one.
Yeah.
Like what percentage would you say is complete on this project?
I'd say 10%, very early. Yeah, just some initial conversations, a survey, some early data collection. But this needs focus groups. It needs one-on-one interviews. It needs more robust data collection. And I think we probably want to use some consultant support. There are some good firms out there that have expertise in this area that I think could add to our team's capabilities.
Great.
So this is pretty early. Increasing visitor spending and attractions for regional visitors. So here's where we're kind of looking at one of our economic development strategies is how do we get more people here to spend money. So creating a kind of a partnership program. We're thinking this 2-year partnership program that helps local organizations expand downtown events and visitor offerings. So really all that's saying is we have a lot of stuff going on in town. We need a formal program for how we actually support that stuff. Because right now it's onesie twosies, it's one-off. It's actually a real pain. And it actually creates some frustration with local organizations who want more support from us, but we are always like, well, here's what we've done in the past. We don't really have a program for this. Here's what we might be able to do now. Let's put something on paper where we can say, look, we're going to do this as kind of a 2-year pilot. We want these events and organizations to be successful, that are open to the public, that are bringing people here to spend money and visit our community. And so how are we going to do that? Is it sponsorships? Is it in-kind support? Is it logistical support? We do it a little different for every event, and it's just kind of based on historical practice over the last 10, 15, 20 years.
How does that mesh with how we're going to work with Main Street in the sense that, I know there's probably some events that we know that Main Street will do, but for example, Wildfire Arts does their own big street event.
Mhm.
So are we saying that we want some type of plan outside of how we work with Main Street that would support events like the Wildfire event? Is that what we're talking about?
And maybe even others. I mean, there are, right now, we typically only support events that are free and open to the public and that take place on town property or town right of way. That's kind of our threshold. And I think that's generally been the case. There are events that are free and open to the public, but that aren't run by nonprofits that we've historically pushed back on and say, hey, look, this is really a marketing event for your business. We're not helping you with that, even though it brings people here. But we don't really have a good plan or program for how that gets done. So this is some policy language so that we're all clear about what we can support and in what ways and how much. But it will change the nature of our relationships with some of these organizations. I think Main Street is unique. Wildfire is a unique arrangement. They are our arts recreation provider, right? We don't have any staff that do that. We don't run our own programs. We pay them to do that. But there are other groups that I think would love to expand those offerings and expand event opportunities and visitor opportunities, and they're limited on what they can do. And so if we had a formal program and a dedicated budget, and we could say, this is how we're going to do this, I think that we could get there. This is actually tied to a different strategy here, and we might choose one or the other, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I think it'll make sense.
So this would be an overall project that may include Main Street, but it may include other organizations as well.
It could. And so, Main Street currently has events included in their budget. But in future years, if we put this program together, maybe they would be bound by that program and we wouldn't include that money in our agreement budget. And then they would then, in essence, compete for those dollars with other, with other events and other opportunities.
That's what I was wondering.
I have a recommendation on this, and this is because I did work in economic development in Loveland, and having a destination marketing tourist expert look at your community and say, here are big things that you're not looking at, and we can market this to the outside, we can capitalize on this, or we can create an anchor, like Loveland created their Lovelock sculpture, and they get, millions of visitors every year to birth it just for that one sculpture installment. But it took somebody who's been through that extensive training and education to say, we're gonna make you famous for what you are and bring people in to spend money and then leave. But your businesses flourish, and that's what helps small businesses. So I would really recommend that we not spend so much on policy as hiring an expert to look at it holistically and say, here's a plan. If I would create and launch for you guys, and if it works, it could be that could be the pilot. It's having them create it, implement it, and if it works, then they're hired for ongoing efforts, but also to lift that off staff and say, you guys are good at focusing on the small town, local events, those kinds of things are almost separate from your larger scale. Like TPC should change the scope of Berthoud. It should change the landscape of Berthoud's businesses, but it doesn't. That event doesn't, the tour doesn't impact our local businesses, but an expert would see the opportunity. They know how to connect to regional partners. They know how to bring in the right people to get tours downtown, get money downtown. They know how to talk to small businesses about what they could do to be a part of it. So I would just recommend a little bit of a pivot, a lift from staff and say, hire a destination marketing expert to see Bertha differently and run with that. Like,
Yeah.
Run with it.
Everybody else feel good about that?
Sounds good.
I like that idea.
Absolutely. We can add that to that list.
Thank you.
Thank you, May. That's great.
Sure.
Next one, adopt an updated parks development master plan that prioritizes major recreation and destination amenities. Now, I don't think that means that we don't look at other park development opportunities that maybe are only locally focused. Obviously, parks development master plan should be broad in its application, right? Like, we're not only going to be a destination, a parks destination, but it might be a priority focus for us, especially as we look at some of the bigger properties that we own. That might be available for parks and recreation development. We own several very large pieces of property. Maybe we want to look at creative strategies that both benefit local residents and create cool amenities that we don't have, but that can draw people from the region. I think that's a good opportunity for us. And we need to do that anyway. We've been talking about Parks Master Plan for 2.5 years. That was actually in our last strategic plan that we haven't done. So let's put that on this list and get it done. Adopt a Little Thompson River Corridor Trail implementation plan based on the current corridor planning effort. We see the Little Thompson corridor as a future draw, right? If we're able to bring folks here for park amenities adjacent to and along the river corridor, trails along the entire river corridor, that will have some visitor impact. We've spent a lot of money acquiring open space and portions of the river corridor, and we're working on a broader corridor plan, but let's focus that down and a little sub-plan that says, how can we leverage that for economic development, really? How do we make that really visitor-friendly and both for local residents and people from outside the community?
Are you envisioning that like, on these trails like education about wildlife, water, that kind of thing?
Yeah, very much. Ann has some great ideas about kind of how we might approach that. Maybe the development of nature centers or outdoor visitor centers. We have property that's adjacent to the river that might be perfect for that with some partners. Trail corridor concepts and designs, including educational areas. Where are the right trailhead spots? How do they connect to other parts in town so we can get somebody off that river trail and into downtown, for instance? How do we connect all those bits and pieces? Yeah.
Is that something that would be grant worthy? I mean,
Yes, that probably is a grant worthy program. So, success in that might be obtaining a grant to support that specific project. Ann was already successful in getting a grant for, kind of water and land portion associated with all that. It's been working really hard on that project. So,
love that idea.
Add utilities to it as a key partner.
utilities could be a great partner in that project. Thank you, Ken. Yeah, absolutely.
The lead owner for this one, we've got community development and open space.
Mhm.
Who's the lead for open space?
Paul is our open space. He's our forestry and open space supervisor. Is that the right term?
Town forester and open
Okay.
space. supervisor.
Yep.
Town forester and open space supervisor. So Paul does not currently tackle a lot of these open space issues, but I would love to move a lot of that into his box and start to expand. Right now, they're primarily focused on managing the open space, taking care of it. I'd really love to get Paul and his team and start to build out their capabilities and some of this longer range visioning and planning. Yeah. Good question. I had a note about that. Oh, add utilities as a partner. Thanks.
Right.
Couldn't remember what I was going to write down. Okay, anything else here? Shouldn't be on the list or that we need to continue to refine or discuss. Anybody want to take a break? We've been going at it for about an hour and a half.
Are we about halfway through?
We are. Economic development is the majority of these. You'll see that communication transparency, those are shorter, and fiscal sustainability is only a handful of action items. Is that okay, Mayor Parsbeck? I don't know.
Like a specific, so like July 3rd has been fantastic.
Mhm.
The winter lights, it's going to be a long-term success for businesses. any kind of, I guess the Third Street, I guess I'm talking about here, Third Street would be a direct impact then for.
Could be.
Okay,
Hopefully it will be.
okay. And any thought of just more direct events, town-owned?
No, but not that we couldn't, but no, we really need to include that here.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So we're taking a break.
It's up to you. You're the man.
Yeah.
I'm the man. Yeah.
Committed.
You might have a revolt, Mayor.
Yes.
Jeremy will be right back here.
I'm
so.
up there. Yeah.
All right, let's bring it back. And we'll start at the, I guess anything, well, clearly.
All right,
Good job.
we'll keep rolling. We're about halfway through. I plan to be halfway through in an hour, so I'm going to try to pick it up a little bit. But don't stop discussion if you have questions. Strategic action, ED 19 is where we are, under create or improve space for businesses and community uses. One of the challenges that we have is we do actually have limited space. So there are some empty buildings, and some of those are going through renovations. Some of those need renovations, but we have pretty good occupancy numbers as a community. And it does limit our ability to prospect businesses who don't want to build a building and they just want new space. There's just not a lot of it out there. So complete design, put together a financing strategy, a tenant program strategy, and a phase renovation of the Sunoco building. So that's a big opportunity for us, 30,000 square foot eyesore downtown. And I think we're ready to pick that back up. We've got some great ideas, I think, that we'd like to present to you and get your feedback on. And if you like them, we can move down the road. If we need to refine those, that's fine too. But we think that's worth picking up and moving forward.
It was just a quick question, high level.
Mhm.
But if we were to make that into a very successful building, it has businesses, it has whatever, it's generating income, do you see the potential that we might want to decide to sell it at some point?
I would. Yeah. I mean, that would ultimately be a policy decision of the town board, but there might be some real good reason to do that. Next one, complete a redevelopment strategy and a transaction path for Old Town Hall and the Second Street sites. So again, let's be really specific about what that redevelopment looks like, what we want to see. And then that transaction path is really intended to articulate the fact that those are unique deals. They require some public-private partnership. They're going to require some incentive and probably some financial waivers and things like that. Probably not cash contribution. I don't think we should do that. But contributing the land for free and agreeing to fee waivers, maybe upgrading some infrastructure. How do we make that deal palatable? We've got some really good information and data that can help us make those decisions. But we'd like to make that a priority and get that in front of you so we can get that going again.
Can I just clarify what the Second Street sites,
Hmm.
what that entails?
That's the old skate park site
Okay,
and the old streets building that's been scraped to the ground. It's now just a gravel lot.
okay, thank you. I was thinking.
And then the last one under that goal of create or improve space for business and community is evaluate and if warranted, establish an urban renewal authority and initial plan area for priority development.
Trustee Reese's point, we, the old board, saw the artist rendition and kind of the plan was for that over here. Maybe we just bring that back at a board meeting and just update it. It was
Yeah,
pretty cool
I'd love to see
on
it.
what that looked like and what its role was. So just food for thought.
Agreed. And we actually had a financial pro forma and feasibility study done for that concept that the board liked. And that can help inform us, what are we going to have? Basically what it says is there's a gap between what's financially feasible and what we want. And so if we want to get that project, how do we fill that gap? But that'll be part of that conversation. But yes, 100%. We'll start with those plans.
We have planned for the Old Town Hall area as well as the Second Street.
We actually have two plans that have been done for Old Town Hall. One was done by a private developer in response to an RFP we did, and one was done by Habitat. Both are great plans, or great opportunities. So we can take those as a starting place for those for that property as well.
Could those plans also be uploaded to the
Mhm.
resource site, so I can.
Yes. Let me make sure I wrote that note down when I told you I was going to upload the hotel feasibility study. I just want to make sure I wasn't forgetting one. The Urban Rural Authority is a tax increment financing district similar to a DDA, but it's one that doesn't require voter approval and it can be site specific. And so it creates some additional tools and funding strategies. We don't need to get into the weeds about that tonight. Staff is going to be participating in a learning session with DCI Downtown Colorado Inc., who's going to give us kind of an Urban Rural Authority 101. And then we'll bring that to you and talk about whether or not that makes sense. But most communities around us that have had very successful, I think all, but I just don't want to say that because I don't want to be definitive. But when you look at Longmont, Loveland, Windsor, Fort Collins, the communities that have had really successful downtown redevelopment all have tax increment financing districts. So we need to consider how those can help us have similar success in our downtown.
One of the primary goals of having the URA be to assist with redevelopment of our two sites. So that would help those taxes would funnel into those projects, right?
That's exactly true. If those become, so one of the things that URA can do, and again, I won't belabor this too much because we'll need to bring all this back to you, but that's a great question, May, Trustee Sorcelli. Right now, those are publicly owned. They generate no property taxes because we don't pay property tax. If they are transferred or sold to a developer, they will generate property taxes. And those property taxes can then be rebated back to that developer to help make that deal work in the event of your URA. So there's some, that becomes a financing or tool for some of those projects. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said tax incrementing.
Tax increment financing district. And we'll explain all about what tax increment is and how that works in the context of a tax increment financing district when we bring that to you. But we do want to spend some time evaluating that and propose that to you potentially for, and you can do targeted areas too. So it doesn't have to be like a whole district. We could do a URA along the innovation district in certain areas. We could do URA downtown. They could be site specific. So there's a little more flexibility there too. But we'll tell you more about that as we go. Anything that doesn't make sense in that list, creating or improving spaces for businesses and communities.
I am curious, that's just the economic development alone is a very heavy lift.
It's a huge lift. It is spread out among a variety of different departments. So while it is economic development focused, and that is the high level objective, in terms of who is the lead owner of some of those strategic action items, it's spread between community development, administration, business development, community engagement, and others. So, utilities, the Bacon Lake transmission line, there might be an economic development purpose for that, but it's a utilities project. So these do get spread out among the departments. And a lot of the stuff is stuff that we're already working on or is adjacent to things that we're already working on. So it's an incremental increase rather than like a pile on, if that makes sense.
Throughout this planning process, have any of the departments identified maybe need for additional staff to help with any of these goals?
We have additional staffing needs, some of which are already budgeted, and it will help support some of this. Brian already has a budgeted part-time position to help with economic development and sustainability stuff. We haven't filled it yet, but some of these might drive the need for that. So yeah, we do have some positions already budgeted that aren't filled that will help with this.
Have we planned on cloning Stephanie?
Stephanie is unclonable, but we'll definitely have some. She had support, and we'll have more support here in the future.
You get 3 Stephanies?
Well, that's a great segue to communication and transparency. A lot of which does fall in her bucket. So we talked about making our adopted plans kind of more visible and understandable. How do we really translate our adopted master plans, comprehensive plans to the public? So starting with let's produce a short kind of plain language. Sorry, that says IDEO on my list. I was typing fast when I put this together. Video explainer series for major town master plans. So just some online resources that explain what are these plans, why are they important, what are the hopeful outcomes and strategies that we're pursuing because of those plans.
Where do we plan to have those posted?
What was that?
Where do we plan to have?
We'd have them on our website and on our YouTube channel, and then we'd use them also. I'll let Stephanie talk, but
all social platforms.
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, so we might take, that might be a 3 or 4 minute video, but we'll take 20-second snips out that we can use for social media and stuff. Sorry, turn that the wrong way. Um, Update the comprehensive plan and integrate the current sub-area master plan directions. So what we're saying there is, one, it's been 5 years since we updated our comp plan. It's the right time to do an update. This is not an overall rewrite. We're not starting from scratch, at least we're hoping we're not, but it's a chance to confirm the vision. Are we still heading in this direction as communities to still articulate who we want to be when we grow up? Are the policies appropriate? But then also, there's some new state mandated elements, and can speak to those better than I could.
Housing diversity, which we did independently, water, which we were the first community to do it the new way, and strategic growth, which you all are going to do in a couple of weeks, and we'll be the first community to do that too.
And so those are all independent amendments, but so we'll incorporate those into one plan document, but then we'll also look at Mountain Avenue overlay, First Street Innovation District, and make sure that those are all well integrated into that comprehensive plan. And then any other changes that we need to make.
Second, so housing diversity and
Water conservation.
water conservation.
That was delightful.
You said that's the best thing coming over.
I'll tell you a good story later when the owl's not on, about ringtones. So next one under that goal, publish annual report cards for all of our adopted master plans and the strategic plan. So we do a comprehensive plan report card that gets prepared by Ann and her team and that has been presented to the board on a regular basis. But formalizing that annual report card process for all of our adopted master plans and this strategic plan. So they'll all live in one place on the website. They'll all get presented to you at least annually, and so that everybody, community and the board is all aware of status. Some of these, like the strategic plan, will probably require at least semi-annual updates. But some of the other plans, like Trails Master Plan, probably doesn't need a quarterly update. And that's something we need an update on annually about, have we been able to achieve any of the action items identified in those master plans?
Would it be possible to have like a read-only access to some of the smart sheet pages where there's just like high-level updates on all the things that are going on?
Yeah, I think what might be easier, we did this before. Again, I don't think it got used a lot, but we created a dashboard that was just a single place you could go. It showed kind of progress on each one of those initiatives and just some like notes and updates about each one that was getting updated regularly. So if that's something that's of value to you, we can build that for this too. It's pretty easy to go and look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it would.
I agree. So that's, what do we call that? Making adopted master plans more visible and understandable to the public. Anything that shouldn't be on that list? And again, I know there might be things that we're talking about that you want to add to the list. We can get to that as we get to the end here, once we get through all these.
I just want to say that looks excellent. It would be really great to be able to communicate those more quickly without getting into a deep dialogue with somebody.
Yeah.
That the general citizen can have an overall awareness would be really helpful.
I think the report cards are great because, there's a lot of, I don't mean this in any kind of negative way, but there's a lot of flowery language in a lot of these plans. People don't want to read through all that stuff. The action items are what matter, right? What is this plan actually telling us to do? And so even just having a quick look at the report cards that are published and be able to say, okay, I get it. I know what these plans are trying to accomplish, and I can see where the town's making progress. It'd be really helpful. So the next one, expand online access to projects and decisions. This is where the one spot we've got a cool visual for you tonight. So I'm going to give Stephanie the floor here just to show you Social Point. Social Point or Social Pinpoint? I wrote it differently on both of these, so I can't.
It's Social Point
Thank you.
is the company,
But it's Engage Birthday.
but it's engaged birthday. You guys ready to have your flabbergasted?
Yes.
So this is engaged birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Yowza.
I'll miss it for a second, let you watch the banner because it's awesome. Ben put it together for us. It cycles through, it's about 30 seconds. But I think it shows the absolute best of Berthoud,
Water tower.
right?
Kids,
Yeah, it is. So if this doesn't make you want to move here, I don't know how to help you.
Great quality of graphics, wow.
Right? Everybody impressed? Everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds
Very.
pretty good.
So this is Engage Berthoud. It's not live now. This is just the staging site. It's broken into 3 parts: open projects and activities, active projects, and closed projects. Open projects and activities are where we're accepting feedback. These are new things that we're introducing to the world. Newell Farm is here because it's not active, Jaskowski, the water efficiency plan, and the stormwater master plan. First, I want to thank Keith and Danny. We grounded out today to get as much on here as we could so that you guys could see what it's going to look like when the world sees it. Each page is its own project. It's got a who's listening page, so it will have contact information. So if someone wants to email, have a question.
it's a good looking dude right there.
Yeah.
Look at that. We have a timeline, project updates, and we can add different tools to it, depending what the project is, to make it the most fitting for each project. Because when we redo the comprehensive plan, it won't be the same tools that would work for a park. One of the cool things they have here, I just want to show you some of the features. The Arboretum. Ooh.
Oh, very good.
Everybody went off. Ooh. So we'll be able to help people visualize what a project is going to look like. Because it's easy for us to go, oh, this building is going to be here. Oh, this park is going to look like this. But to me, I have a hard time visualizing it. So we can match up the renderings with an aerial shot and really help people understand it. I think this will be fantastic for 3rd Avenue, for 3rd Street. I think we have a few projects where the slider is just going to be amazing. Because now you see this and, okay, I'm excited about it, but now I know what you're talking about. All the documents are here, and we can add information from surveys, project updates. Danny added the ask a question and who's listening, so you can ask them a question there. Once the question's been asked, we have a moderator, so it's not, you can't be a jerk off and get it on there. So we get to see it, we'll approve it, and then it'll go up. But that'll also help with misinformation. On a place like Facebook, someone will ask a reasonable question, you answer it, the next person asks the same question, and nobody reads the comments. It's just a cesspool. So hopefully we want to drag all the people off of Facebook, all the people that don't use social media, we want to get them all here. So we have a more varied, more deep, thoughtful audience. One of the other most beneficial things, I think, this thing's got benefits up and down, but when we have people that say, oh, this is kind of fun too, phasing. Woo.
You're having a little bit too much fun this
I've been staring at this all day.
I love the timeline.
The timeline.
That's so great.
So all the people that say, we need to slow this down. So for example, MVP, it's been since 2018, we purchased the property in 2013. We're going slow. But now there's a place where everyone can go, all the information is there, all the documents are there, it's in one place with all of the projects. And every project has a, there's Jaskowski, another good one. You can follow the project. So if you're interested in MVP, if you're interested in the Arboretum, you can click follow the project, and if you have an account, you'll get an email whenever there's an update. Hey, there's new plans, hey, decision's been made. So you can opt to follow. Jaskowski's a newer one, it's not a newer one, it's been since 2012, but it's got some good information here. A lot of people don't know where it is, actually. This is also useful for budget exercises. So, we're not going to ask the public, how do you want to spend $1 million? Because obviously we all have things that the money needs to go to. But we can put 100 points and have them push it around to different parts to see what's important to them. When we talked about the Sunoco building, we can have a plan of the Sunoco building, and when we have ideas of what each room is gonna be or what section is gonna be, we can have pop-ups that call out. You scroll your mouse over and a picture comes up and says, kitchen space available for rent, meeting space for seniors. So anyone can go there anytime and understand fully what the building is for. The Second Street improvements, First Street improvements, that would all do great with the slider and explaining it. And report cards we can put on here too. So this will be the one-stop shop. I mean, the website's still great and it's gonna have a lot of good information, but project-based, town-based projects will all be here. One place, you can sign up, get updates. And it's also good for you guys as the board. I know sometimes you guys get stuck because you can't make a decision without, you want to know more community outreach. We can put it on Engage Berthoud. We can create a page about whatever the topic is and get feedback. And then maybe that helps, with more information of how the community feels about things.
Do we plan to put, it's like we've got the open projects and the things that are like active. So open projects, does that include, we're talking about a lot of projects right now that have been put on hold and they're coming back. Do you plan on putting all of those up there?
Open projects are projects that are open to feedback.
Okay.
For example, Berthoud Arboretum. There's no feedback anymore. We've done all the surveys, we've done all the things that we want community feedback on. And it's gonna be all in that section, so everyone can see, oh, I remember that. This was the overwhelming desire of the community. So active is past feedback.
Okay.
We'll also use open for things like the neighborhood lights contest, because there's a lot of people that can't leave their house. If it's snowing, they won't leave their home. So we can take pictures and pop them on a map, and people can vote from their home too. Anyone have any questions?
Can we give a standing ovation?
So we did add it to this list, but as you can see, it's getting pretty well developed already. We really want to see this kind of fully complete and used for every major project initiative plan that we have moving forward. There's a ton of features that Stephanie didn't get to show you that, things that we can do with that site. So it is going to be a really awesome tool for us. Really excited about that.
Game changer for professional output to the community, for them to see that everyone has their ducks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the big, Facebook circle is, those questions. And so being able to see it all concisely,
Yeah, the water efficiency plan we added today. Alex is actually at a conference in Steamboat, and we were emailing, okay, send me this stuff, I'll get it on there. Does this look good? So it'll link back to the plan. You can look at it. It's going to be a survey there too. So.
And a tool for us to be able to share with the community more concisely too, instead of regurgitating or reinventing or trying to pull all the information ourselves, to have that centralized. So,
I'm going to make cards like the bracket cards that a lot of you guys have, and then you can hand them out. Say, here's information on the project.
awesome. Well done.
It'll be great. We won't have to create special fact sheets and keep those updated and republish them, because it will just be a living, breathing, constantly updated resource. It's going to be really cool. Next one, complete PSD citywide implementation and expose appropriate development master plan records to residents. So, Ann, you want to talk about this one at all?
You can go for it.
I just feel like I've just talked so much, and really this team put a lot of this together. I'm just, I get to be the mouthpiece a little bit, but.
Yep, so PSD Citywide is the platform that we selected, and all of the departments were involved for over a year in talking about a good asset management platform as well as a permitting platform. So anything that deals with an asset, pothole notification, trees, benches, trash cans, the water utilities, all of that will go into the asset module. And then it is actually going to talk to the permitting module. So everything from pre-application all the way through end of warranty period will all be on this platform. And with few exceptions, there will be some, confidentiality, security credentials when we're negotiating development agreements and, the attorneys, the work that we're doing with the attorneys, we're gonna try to sneak that in, under our permitting platform as well. Anybody 24/7, 365 can get on and say, I want to see everything associated with the preliminary plat for this particular development. They can see all referrals. All referrals will upload it to this platform, so we'll be able to share everything about every development. We're really excited about it right now with operations, public works, open space, Christian's team, planning, engineering, and building. Everything except for building is a manual process. So it's entering it into a spreadsheet, it's creating things on a Dropbox. Everything is so manual, and we're excited because we're going to get to auto-generate emails and referral notices and all of those things that will save staff a lot of time and be more efficient. So, and it is, it's a out-of-the-box program, however, we're paying to customize this for Berthoud. And we made sure that they would customize. That is the qualification, so Val's watching.
Any other, so that really covers a lot of our plans, projects, our projects, and then private development stuff as well. I think those are the things people are often most interested in. Okay, another goal under communication and transparency is increasing face-to-face engagement. Yes,
So
please.
with what you would have online in that, with that particular application, will it interface with the Engage application at all? So if someone could go from one to the other?
No, they're two separate, very different types of,
I just didn't know if you'd be able to like toggle from one to the next. Or
You will be able to on our website. Like our website will bring you to those different systems. So our website will be the hub, and then those will be the spokes, if that makes sense.
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, good question. Thank you. So increasing face-to-face engagement. I think we all know that's the most valuable form of engagement that we have, and how do we create more opportunities to do that? So hosting at least semi-annual open houses on major issues and projects. We talked about quarterly, and what we found is in the context of everything else we have going on, having a quarterly open house is going to be a challenge. But doing that at least twice a year. And we might choose to do more, but a minimum of 2 a year, where we have an open house, whether it's about, we did the last one on open space. We want to do one on water because it's obviously a big topic for the community. We might have one on growth and development while we're doing the comprehensive plan. So it'd be a great opportunity to just have an open house and make presentations, talk about how we handle development, take questions for an hour like we did with open space. Those are really good, valuable opportunities.
And I think this is a great idea, and I've told you that before. Unfortunately, though, I do think 2 is not enough. I think, for example, right now, not only do we have water, but we need to be able to think about presenting the budget as well, possibly. That's another issue. I think there's enough issues that you could definitely do more. So I'm a little worried about limiting it to just 2 a year.
What we don't want to do is supplant your board meetings either, though. So, when we do a 3-hour-long budget presentation to you, we want the public to come participate in that. And so we can also do a better job when we have those big issues that are coming in front of the board of letting people know, hey, the annual budget is on the town board agenda, on this Tuesday night, and doing more about doing more proactive marketing about specific agenda items. Now, that's not the same format as like, hey, I just stand there and take questions for an hour about the budget. But I think most people will get their questions answered during that process, and then they can follow up with us individually and we can answer those questions. But in the context of doing 2 board meetings, just, a study session, multiple planning commission meetings, committee meetings with town staff liaisons, like there's, 6-7 public meetings a month already anyway. And so we don't want to supplant those, but we want to still do some big topic just open houses, but hopefully in the context of
If a
other
hot
planning
topic
efforts.
came up and it was critical, right, we would react to something like that, I think, and would that be appropriate
Mhm.
on something like that?
And you know, like the Citizens Academy, it's 7 weeks straight of 3 hour long meetings. And so again, I mean, I think just trying to create enough opportunities we have a small staff really in the grand scheme of things. And we have a lot of public
And I
opportunities,
appreciate
public opportunities for
I
engagement.
appreciate the time commitment, I get
Yeah.
that there's a lot. But I think Brett hit the nail on the head, I'm a little worried that if we do have something that is really important to the community, what if it became very important that we talk about data centers, for example? And people needed to understand like what our processes might be for considering something like that.
I think those are the kinds of things where we'd have a study session and we'd be promoting that to the public is the town board's having a study session to learn about data centers, to discuss data center policy. And that's an opportunity for them and come and comment, ask questions that you might consider. I think from my perspective, the open houses are better tied to, one of the reasons why we did an open space open house was both it was a priority of the board to have kind of a summit of some kind. And when we were talking to our partners, we felt like an open house was kind of the best opportunity to do that. But the other was we had community engagement obligations as part of a grant application we've done. So being able to host open houses in the context of other big projects is valuable. And then we might want to do some when there's a hot topic like water. People have a lot of questions about water.
Right.
We actually don't get a lot of questions about water, but you know, it's a hot topic people are talking about. So those are things that would make sense to do a focused open house on. The rest, when it's a policy decision or those kinds of things, I think are better suited for town board meetings rather than kind of staff-led open houses. So that's our thought anyway.
The reason I chose those now,
Yeah.
was just that there seems to be some confusion over the budget and what's in the budget as far as projects and that kind of thing. And so the idea was that maybe to help alleviate some of that confusion as to what's in the budget for projects and that, and how that impacts it, how the budget impacts certain types of changes in town roads and streets and that kind of thing. So it would just give people an opportunity to be able to ask those questions after the budget's already approved.
Not during. I understand. Yeah, that's a good point.
If I could add, the open houses are amazing and we love them. I also would like to have, discussion at some point on how can we use other platforms to like online to accommodate, generations like mine where you've got some kids at home, you can't come to a board meeting, it's bedtime, they want to come, and maybe online is the only way that they can get in or listen. I know we've got YouTube where, when we're doing the video, maybe promoting that more. I don't know if we're allowed to or have explored options of also using like Facebook Live. That also reaches a different generation and different demographic. So kind of covering all the angles to get as much to accommodate and meet our people where they are.
Yeah. I think that kind of fits in that expand to online access and to projects and decisions. Maybe that's something we can think about. Let's see. Strategic action CT07, create a community longer table event. This is an idea that Stephanie brought to me that I thought was kind of a neat opportunity for face-to-face engagement. Maybe you want to talk about this one a little bit as well.
Have you guys heard of Longer Table? Okay, so it's a nationwide event where it's what it says. It sounds like you just set up a long table and you invite the entire community to come out and have food together. We've talked about setting it up in Pickle Park, so it's kind of the X on the sidewalks. And so we would set it up, create the engagement, and hope maybe 75 people show up and just break bread together. I mean, it's really not that deep. It's pretty much just put down your phones, get away from your computers, open your garage door, come out and hang out with us for an evening.
We recently did one of these in Denver, and I know you had to buy tickets. I think they did it about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, is it already passed? I can't remember.
One of my friends went to that in Denver, and they were saying you had to buy the tickets, and you had to buy them quite a bit ahead of time. Are you thinking about that kind of an event?
Yeah, it would be for next summer. So we do it on the same time as the nationwide thing.
Wasn't our national night out a little bit like that?
Just a little bit.
Kind of, but it's not like sit down and eat.
Okay.
Because you could stay with your little family clique and not engage with anybody, but this you're forced to sit next to people.
Okay,
You know.
because that was a little anemic. I mean, I know it grew over last year, but
It was a significant improvement over the first year.
Yeah.
Last year was our first year, and so I think some of it's just, it's new,
okay.
it's growing. National Night Out is a national program that's really intended to connect you with your first responders,
Okay.
public safety. And so that is the priority focus of that event, sheriff, EMS, fire, and, you know, our team serves hot dogs because we just thought it was a cool event. We wanted to take part in it. So it was much higher attended this year, and
Okay.
we hope that continues to grow next year too, and continue to promote that.
I love this idea of making us a community again, and finding that place to unify and actively be fickle, because it's kind of gone to the wayside a little bit since everything else is new and shiny. So being in the central area sounds really great. We could partner with farmers even to provide meals, and it kind of goes in tandem with that other idea I had of like having a farm table down mountain with string lights, and just that, you know, reminder that we're a little farm town apart and we're all part of this community. We all have to live together and we're all neighbors. And so I just love that idea. Thank you.
Cool.
Definitely helps us keep them in small towns.
Even as runs it.
And then create at least 4 informal engagement opportunities with the trustees each year. So these would not be topic-specific open houses. These would be like, you know, we'll set up an event in the park at Heritage Ridge and buy the neighborhood pizza and invite anybody to come out and talk to the trustees that wants to. Just a chance for you guys to meet the neighborhoods and go to them. I think there's, you know, we've talked about this for a couple of years and just haven't made it a priority. So we're saying let's put it on the list to make it a priority.
Something along the same lines, but not really. And I don't know if there's any feeling with the board to do something like this, but a retreat of us, a bonding, even, you know, whether it's bowling or Hawaii or Cabo. Or, you know, pickleball.
Are you paying for it?
But just food for thought. Again, maybe we survey the group at some point to say, you know, is there any interest in us as a group letting our hair down and being able to slightly have a drink, be in a different environment, just to connect at a personal level. Just maybe that's not even allowed.
It can be, and so that's the one challenge. But there's probably ways to overcome some of that. But we can talk
Maybe
to.
survey the group and food for thought.
Yeah.
Everyone's busy, but kind of be cool just to get together with the group.
I'd like to tease you a little bit, Chris. So you only get 2 and we have 4?
Well, in fairness, we have a lot of other ones that that aren't on this list,
Just
but
giving you a hard time.
that's true.
Do you have kind of a preliminary idea of what 4 areas might be first on the list?
You know, I think our idea was like, let's do one on the south side of town. The park at Heritage Ridge seems like a good spot. You could do it at Vine Park too, so it's our park instead of in their neighborhood. Because we don't want to discourage folks from, you know, the Hillsdale neighborhood coming. So, you know, we can kind of choose one on the south side, one on the north side, like Heron Lakes, Heron Point, Prairie Star, one kind of in the center of town, maybe at Wagner, but, you know, kind of more geared toward, you know, Gateway and Vantage, and one in downtown or on the east side, Farmstead, Pioneer Park, something like that.
Love the idea.
With those, if there's something we could do that activates us engaging with people other than just standing and talking,
Mhm.
I think it can be intimidating. Like at the National Night Out, people don't really want to go. I mean, you don't go to have fun. You don't want to talk to trustees.
No.
But maybe if there's like an advanced like survey of questions, and then we can get up and answer them, you know, and kind of have that kind of more personal, you know, impact. But maybe we're doing like filling up balloons or having ice cream bars, or, you know, doing something that has that kind of community centric feel where we're serving them instead of just talking.
I like the idea of us serving them by handing something out or doing something active. You know, I think.
And that includes the kids too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it shows that, shows, what our real job is, which is we are in a sense public servants. So
I like that. If that could be the theme, is service, serving the groups and having them get to know us as people. So if there's any type of questions we can answer that are maybe not as intense political, but have them see that we're people and we are them. We just starting this role.
Maybe
Maybe
we
that's
could do one of those big poster boards of like random facts about your trustees.
sure.
No, but I like that idea because, you know, you've all seen things on Facebook where we all are kind of like this faceless group that they kind of throw us into that, you know, aren't really human. You know, and
Those
yeah.
blasted trustees.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of making it more human like that, making it more personal.
I love that.
And I think that's our hope too, is that, you know, it's easy to hate town hall. It's a lot harder to hate Mesa or Sully Albrecht, right? So,
Trying to make it hard.
yeah. And so when people get to know you a little bit more, you know, face to face, I think there's a lot higher likelihood we're going to have positive interactions and positive conversations. You're not just them, right? And the same is true for staff, but
I sometimes think that the vision, when I see those things on Facebook, is that we're all kind of the faceless zombies that all just kind of march together.
Yeah.
it's fair.
We'll after the long meetings. And we'll be like,
That's true. So I like that.
I'm going to keep trucking here. Increase volunteerism and civic participation. Working with partners to establish a volunteer contact database. Stephanie and I talked a lot about this in the context of increasing volunteerism. Folks don't really volunteer for the town; they volunteer for other local organizations. But can we help be a conduit to create those opportunities? And so we might not take the lead on this, but we'll work with our partners, nonprofits, the library, others to maybe create a volunteer newsletter and a database where people can sign up and say, I want to support the community, and those opportunities can be sent out to them and that kind of stuff. So that, again, not something necessarily we'll be the total sole lead on, but that we'll work with partners to do.
Can I comment on that really quickly? And that's,
Sure.
in another community that I was in, they did do exactly that. And what they did was they started feeding in people that had graduated from the academy as a part of that group of volunteers. And they get more volunteers of their friends, and then they have a really nice volunteer. They still send me emails asking me to volunteer stuff at some of their events. And I remember I moved. Now in Colorado. So, but it really served them well to start that.
Yeah, thank you.
Who ideally would be like the owner of like the database? Maybe there's gotta be a.
I don't want to commit them yet, but Stephanie's already been talking to one of our partners who I think is ready to do that. So there will be an owner of that database, but it won't be us.
Does it make sense to reach out to HOAs and find out who like what the HOA boards are and ask them if they want to be a part of that database?
Yeah, I think there's ways to kind of get people to sign up, right? And that's a great strategy, I think. It's a good suggestion.
I hold a quarterly nonprofit meeting, so I have all the nonprofits kind of in one room that are Main Street based, so I have a good grasp on them.
Mayor and I had talked too about with how many nonprofits are in our town that people don't realize. It'd be so great to have a nonprofit expo where you get to go meet all of them and figure out where you want to donate or plug in, or if you need the service. Like it kind of, everybody can benefit from it, but I feel like most of us don't even know half of them. So I think this is a really great starting point. And the chamber probably could be a great partner too for hosting something like that.
And I can put information on Engage Bertha too.
I will tell you that was one of the draws to this town for my husband and I, was we started looking at all of the 501c3s that were in Bertha. We couldn't believe it for a town this size. So I think that's it's a great suggestion to do something.
Yeah.
Launching this annual Birth at Civic Academy. We're actively accepting applications right now. 7-week program for folks to sign up, no cost. Each week will be led by a different department or 2 departments, just to teach people about what we do, have some interactive exercises that we'll run them through and get them to participate in kind of unique and creative ways, and then maybe do some tours as well.
Is there any component of that that's the national level, just about democracy, 3 branches of government?
Nope.
I think civics is almost non-taught anymore in our schools.
It's not.
There's such a need to educate our youth. I just wonder if we could develop a component of this to do that, or if that would be out of scope.
It's not, I don't know that it's necessarily out of scope. Ours is very focused just on how does the town of Berthoud operate. The first week, Christian and I will be leading that first night as a welcome and introduction to the participants. We'll talk to them about what the program's going to look like. We'll also talk to them about how we structured. And some of that is like understanding state, regional, and local government and kind of what our role is in that. And then kind of talking more broadly about how is the town organized and who does what, and how did things get done, what's the board's role and what's staff's role. And so it'll be a locally focused civics lesson, but we're not diving into, I'm just a bill. I'm only.
But the local government exists because of the national framework of our whole country, and I just wonder if there could be a.
Yeah.
uh,
I'll be giving that
Reader's Digest
presentation,
version
so I
of
could
it.
give that, yeah.
That would be a great suggestion to the Thompson School District.
I was
Board.
gonna say, perhaps the
Please
advisory
bring that to them
commission
and
might be a
highlight
good.
it.
And then where do your candidates come from for this? The
Is it
participants?
student-based, youth-based?
It is open to anybody 18 and up. Did we set that as a
I don't know
requirement?
if we specified age.
I can't remember. I think we did.
Why not start younger, like, even high school?
Because frankly, I don't want to mix 60-year-olds and 18-year-olds. I think it's a very different demographic.
Oh,
So it's intended for adults, and it's application based. There's no criteria to be selected. It's kind of a first come, first serve. So we've got 5 or 6 applications already.
Yeah.
I think we have 5.
Six,
We're a little, we've done a lot. It went out in the newsletter. It's been on our website and social media, and we do a press release.
The newspaper knows about it. It's too far past the
The
deadline
deadline.
because they're weekly.
Maybe in the newspaper then?
Will knows about it. But I think the deadline, because the deadline to sign up and their deadline for when their articles have to be in is too close. So,
So our current deadline is next Friday, not
think
this
so.
Friday, the Friday after.
Yeah.
For applications. If we don't get a big enough class, we may reschedule it.
Because I think it would be really helpful to have that in the paper, you would get a lot more applicants.
It's possible. It did go to every utility customer in the newsletter. So hopefully all, 5,600 or how many
yeah,
utility bills we send out.
7,400.
7,400. Thank you. But like I said, we just got a whole group of applications this morning or yesterday afternoon that Karina told me about. So hopefully that'll pick up. I would love to have good participation, but if we only have like 7 or 8, we're not going to hold a 7-week class for 6 or 7 people. But if we get a good cohort, we'll run them through the first go round.
So we need to encourage people.
So yes, please feel free to promote this to your friends and neighbors. And then the last one on communication and transparency is create clear accountability for the strategic plan. And that includes publishing a semi-annual public strategic plan. I say dashboard, really, I mean a public, we'll have a public dashboard that'll be on our website that you can see at any time, but publishing a semi-annual report. So that fixes it, not dashboard.
And the report will be more detailed than the publicly available dashboard.
It will have, the publicly available dashboard will be more like what we did last time that has, the list of goals and kind of notes and next steps. The report semi-annually would have progress on those measurables. So success measures, any ones that we can measure, we'll try to incorporate those into that report. Okay. Last high-level objective here, financial sustainability. We talked about improving long-range financial decision-making. So annually presenting the rolling 5-year financial forecast. We've done that in the past, but we haven't really focused on it. So the intent is that we'll do a little deeper dive into that 5-year financial forecast that you don't adopt because you only adopt a 1-year budget, but that we look at as we're preparing that budget. We'll spend a little more time talking about that in future years.
Could that be something that's just like a study session and then it's planned at the same time of the year, every single year, so it can be kind of planned
the trustees can always plan,
Mhm.
we know that this is coming during this week of the month or whatever.
And that is how we've typically handled it. We've abided by the same budget calendar for all intents and purposes for the last 5, 6, 7 years. But yes, is the answer to your question. We can make that kind of like a routine, a second meeting in October, actually usually the first meeting in October, because we got to hit a statutory deadline to present you the draft budget, and then first meeting in November for the full budget presentation, and then adopted typically the first meeting in December. But yeah, that calendar stays pretty consistent. Establishing a community impact grant program in partnership with the Northern Colorado Community Foundation Network. The reason why I have that under financial sustainability is what I'm proposing, and that I'd like to propose to you in more detail at another night, so we don't have to go dive into it tonight, is we have a lot of nonprofit partners. And rather than create these long-term relationships with them, that we create a grant program that has some criteria that you establish, a committee that reviews applications that at least one or two of you sit on, but that issues grants to community organizations to expand programming, to expand their organization, maybe to build some new community asset or host a new community event. But that would also then have some corresponding weaning away from relying on the town for ongoing operational expenses. So what we'd like to do is reduce the dependence on the town's finances to operate the museum and wildfire community arts. And some of those we might want to continue to do under contract. There are specific services we might want to pay those entities to provide. That's how those deals are structured now. But can we bring that down and have them come up with creative ideas? A lot of the organizations we've talked to have projects they want to pursue that we wouldn't pay for, or that I don't think would be appropriate for us to pay for. But in the context of a grant program that's competitive, that has very established criteria, it's not just like hey, I roll in and ask the board to pay for this. It's hey, there's an annual grant cycle. There's a set amount of money. It's managed by the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado on our behalf, and you go to them. You don't come to the town board meeting, and because we get that a lot. Some of them we turn away, some of them you hear, but people come and ask for money all the time, and that's it's not really a great practice for us. So we'd like to go into that in more detail with you too, if that makes sense. And then adopt and implement a standard capital projects process and policy. We already have one drafted. We're probably going to bring this to you either way, but we know this is something that's been brought up. We think there's good reason to do it anyway. It'll mostly be articulating what we already do, but putting in an explicit policy that gives us all some clear guardrails for exactly how we execute capital projects in the future. It'll also help Cindy, who's been working on the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award. The last missing piece of our budget document that would qualify us for that award is primarily focused on capital planning. So having a dedicated policy and a dedicated capital plan that's a little bit different than what we do now should get us over that hump, and we might. She's hoping.
We gotta get it done.
Because her budget book qualifies in pretty much every other way. So I think that's the last piece. So another goal, use technology to improve analysis and predictability. We've got to implement financial planning reporting tool set that improves forecasting, capital planning, budget development, and management reporting. That's a complicated way of saying, let's take what we already do. Let's see if we can leverage the systems we already have to make that more readily available and understandable. And also, how do we provide that to you and to the public on a regular basis? So I think there's a lot of wrangling there still to do, but I think there's some good direction for us. All with the goal of expanding our use of the technologies we already have, whether it's PSD Citywide or Cassell, our financial management software, to give those kind of longer range.
Would you consider adding other modules like, for example, PSD Citywide? That might be helpful.
PSD Citywide does have financial capabilities. Cindy's been using Cassell for a long time. It probably has some capabilities that we don't use. So those are things that we can evaluate as well. But what we'd like to do is, what we'll spend time doing is learning about what are the things that Casella can do that we don't currently utilize? What are the things that PSD can do that we don't currently utilize, and how might those help us do that long-range planning or the capital planning or whatever? So more of an evaluation kind of step in the process than like a, hey, we're going to actually complete something here, but we recognize that that was something you guys wanted us to look at. And then lastly, launch a plain language public financial report with budget to actual, major revenues, reserves, debt, and capital project status. We already do a monthly financial report. I think we can expand on it a little bit with a little more narrative, and adding some things like capital project status. We may want to push that to engage Berthoud, so we'll have to kind of figure out where all that goes. But recognizing that we can, we've got a good financial report, we can just make a few minor tweaks to make it a little bit easier to, for the average Joe who's not a customer looking at that, really understand what it is we're doing and kind of position we're in.
Some of those tools like EC citywide and like ClearGov help with that, doing the online budget book where as you're filling stuff in, it's just a part of your day-to-day activity. And then, you know, whatever you have filtered and create, you know, the criteria of the budget book automatically updates.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a living document.
Yeah, living, breathing financial report that's always up to date.
Yeah. And easy to follow.
Yeah.
So that's also an option.
And Casella might have that capability. You know, so those are things we'll want to
On
evaluate.
the color pages, there's a 6th. It's not only black and white.
Did I miss one?
The 10-year capital improvement plan.
Oh, thank you. I did miss one. Thank you, Brett. And then the last is adopting a 10-year capital improvement program. So that's really an offshoot of the capital process policy, but that one of those outcomes would be a long-range capital improvement program. Again, that'll be a good addition to the budget. I don't know if we can get to 10 years. There's a couple of our kind of long-range master plans that might conceive of improvements 10 years from now. But I mean, even on the utility side, a lot of that's driven by, you know, growth. How quickly does growth happen? Some of that might get expedited. Some of that might get pushed back. Some of it's driven by pending regulatory changes. If those happen next year, maybe there's something we got to do. And if it doesn't happen for 3 years, you know. So we'll do our best to put together a long-range capital plan, but so that it's clear to the board and to the public, these are the places we think we're going to spend big dollars in the next 10 years.
Just a couple comments. First of all, congratulations to the board. I mean, you're the ones who developed this. That was the session we went through. Ton of thought, ton of work. These are awesome. These are excellent. And then, Christy, you and your team to take that information that we all came up with and to articulate this in a super easy to understand, super organized, very thoughtful, the goals. You don't want to get more than 2 or 3 high-level objectives. We've got those. So I just think I've done a lot of strategic plans in my career, and I just think this is extremely well done. Your team deserves a ton of credit. The way, you know, the metrics you put together, the accountability, who owns all this stuff. I just think this is an excellent job.
Thank you. And the credit does go to this team. You know, they're the ones that put a lot of this information together, and you have an outstanding A team here. The department heads that help run this town are second to none. So
I just want to thank you. It shows a lot of commitment and dedication, both time. So thank you for being there for our town and for all of us. Really appreciate that. And I really love the approach of having the report cards, I think, and having that be publicly available. I really think when it comes to accountability, it's difficult to say that you're not accountable when you're publishing these report cards saying, here's where we are in this, and here's who's responsible for that, and here's, you know, where we see that going. I think there's no better public accountability.
Yeah. Well, and just for me too, what I noticed from this and all the previous years of going through this process is we have a team of visionaries who are so passionate about their area of expertise that you have room to dream and grow and envision something better. And that empowerment that you're giving your team and that each of you feel to make Berthoud better is why we're different than other communities, and why it sets us apart, and why it makes us more honestly cutting edge than a lot of communities around us, because it was implementations and because you're creative. And that, to me, makes me feel so blessed to work with you all. So keep bringing the dreams and the visions that you have to us, and let us help make those a reality, because you're in it every day, boots on the ground, and we're just, the checkbox of saying, just let's go, let's do it. So, very good.
Okay, well done. Anything else?
Yeah, I can't add much to that, but I would say this strategic plan is light years ahead of where we were 2 years ago. So I have nothing to add other than excellent work, you guys. It's really impressive. I'm excited to do the work. I'm excited to work with you guys. And yeah, I have no additional comments. This is great.
Thank you.
Good. Did you see that?
I was just gonna say, when I look at this list, it represents a lot of work. And this is gonna be a heavy lift for this group, and they do a lot of work already. But I think they're committed to that. And I think when we look back, if we've accomplished, even if we only accomplished 75% of this, and I realistically believe we can do all of it, even if we only got 75% of this done, I think we could feel really good about the progress we've made as a community. I think there's some great stuff here. So it's fun. I think it's motivating, hopefully, for this team. Hopefully it's not oh damn, now we have to excuse me, oh dang, we have to add all this to the list. But I think
That's what they say at City Star afterwards.
yeah. We'll talk about that first thing in the morning when we get into the office. But no, I think this really gives us a great direction to head. And like we said, there's 100 other things that are going to happen, and there's going to be stuff that comes up over the next 2 years. But this will also give us as a team, the board and staff, a framework for all the stuff that's coming up in the next 6 months and a year. Like, we can start to schedule out some of that stuff when it's coming to you on your board agendas, and this will give us it is light years ahead of what we did 2 years ago. That was something that I talked with Greg a lot about. Like, I love the one-page strategic plan and concept, but it's limited in its functionality for us. And this, I think, is a much better tool for us to use and to be accountable to. So
It all starts with a great plan, and plans change. That's
That's
life.
right.
You
make adjustments.
You call audibles and you make the adjustments you have to, but you start with a great plan.
Is it reasonable to do 6-month updates?
Yes.
To see where we're at?
Mhm.
That would be really helpful.
Absolutely. That semi-annual report card that we talked about under strategic planning accountability, or the report, strategic planning report, semi-annually, we would present to the town board.
And that's when we too might know that we have to do some pivots.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you'll find that as we go, we'll evaluate some of these, and we're going to go, you know what, we need to approach this differently, or hey, you know what, we've looked at this isn't something we actually want to finish,
Push it back.
and push it back. So that'll all be part of that growing process. But like Trustee Wing said, you got to have a plan first, and this is a great start for us.
Cool.
Any other thoughts or comments?
No, just comment. I agree with everyone. Thank you to staff and to the board. And I think the little changes we made tonight were very small kind of corrections. Overall, you guys captured exactly what we were saying, and the board kind of keeping to our plan too. I think this is going to be great, and this is the best plan that I think since I've been here, since you've been here too. So
yeah,
congratulations to you having this forum too, where department heads and trustees are at the same level. We can kind of go through this informally. This is fantastic.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Maybe if I could ask one thing, staff in general, how do you feel this process this time around has gone as opposed to the past, I guess?
That's a really good question.
You feel like
Would like to
you
speak
have enough input. What do you want to say?
Be hard to say no, right?
I've been here 30-some years, or in some capacity, and this is probably one of the best laid out plans, schedules for staff to follow as well for you all. It's one of the best documents I've seen. I told Chris that the other day from our staff and him himself. It is. It lays it all out, and it's intense, but if you're motivated and want to work at it and you care about Bertha, it's going to happen. So we're going to work together
Chris,
to get
when
it done.
you have your staff meetings, however often, once a month, do you go, hey, folks, here's where we're at, here's our status on some of these, or what's your update? And is that your process when you go back and implement this?
We talk about some of these things in our leadership team meeting. We will use this as a tool now,
Great.
very much so. We do meet every Monday morning. Our leadership team meeting, this group gets together. We talk about hot topics, what are the issues. We do some coordination stuff, and then we'll be using this as a guide to say, what's the status on these projects, what's next.
And I really do think the specific objectives are gonna elevate the way the community interfaces with staff and the board, because they're gonna see it as more respectful, more transparent, more engaged, more personable. So all these things, as heavy lift as they are, I think it's gonna change that dynamic. So I think it's well worth the work. So thank you.
Thank you. And as a next step, just so that you know, we'll make some minor refinements here based on the feedback we got tonight. We'll add some language, some clarity, and then we'll actually bring this to you on September 8th for formal adoption. But we'll start working on it anyway. But that way, you can say we adopted the strategic plan. We can present that to the public. We can issue a press release and kind of start to tell the world this is the focus for our community for the next 2 years.
When does the Engage Berthoud release?
2 days after we say our payroll day.
I like that.
Oh, that day.
So I think, so I don't want to give you an exact date because tomorrow we'll go through and make sure everything's right. Because we want it to look nice and have all the information, but there's still some things missing, some pictures are janky. So we want to get it nice and good before it's out to the public. So someone else doesn't email me and go, hey, by the way, there's a typo and, I want it to be flawless and wonderful. So my hope is in the next week or two. So not far away.
Yeah. Okay. I hope we're the first to know so we can.
Yeah, I'll send you guys, an email out to you, and then it was teased in the last newsletter, which I know all of you read.
I've read them every year since.
Thank you.
For everyone.
So it was teased in the last newsletter, it'll be announced in the next one, and then it'll be on the website, and it'll be on Reach, and so it'll be everywhere. And then we're at Oktoberfest, which is also an opportunity for you guys to engage with the community if you're ever interested. We have 4 booths every event out there. So that'll be presented along with the new branding. So.
Awesome. Let's call it good before 9 p.m. Thank you, everybody. I'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.